Oh, hello. How are you? Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and I don't know why I started that way. Today I kind of want to get into discussion of things I think we need in America. Honestly, some people are like, we need in America? What are you talking about? Well, we're supposed to all have equal rights. Of course, that isn't true. There's certain treatment of certain people one way and other people another way, whether it be because of wealth, race, gender, um, sexual orientation. You know, whatever. Because there is clearly a lack of equality in this country, but that's just part of what I want to kind of discuss here. Um, I feel there are a number of things we need in this country. I've always been told America's the greatest country in the world. It doesn't feel like it. There is so much wrong, so many problems, and then especially now you hear so many people like, "You don't like America? Get out." Uh, no, I don't like the issues. Anybody who wants to work, stay here, and solve the issues are the ones that love America. At least is how I feel about it. If you're just blindly following things and feel it's perfect, no. You should always strive to make things better. Whether it is yourself, your surroundings, whatever. And so we need there's a number of things I want to talk about that we need in America, especially if we want to make this country better. One of the top ones I want to talk about, healthcare. A form of, for lack of a better name, it's honestly just a single payer system. But it's also called Medicare for All, so people understand it a little better. I don't know why all of a sudden my tongue can't form letters. Medicare for All is just a name given to it so people understand the process a little better. Because when you try to explain, hey, it's a single payer system, it does this, it does that, There is so much fear mongering by people who do not want this to happen. And these ideas get stuck in people's head that, oh, this is horrible, it's an evil way to go. No. It guarantees everyone has proper, adequate health care. Affordable health care, more importantly, where they don't have to be put into the poorhouse because they need, to see a doctor. We shouldn't be at the whims of insurance companies who are like, gotta make my money too. Honestly, you shouldn't have to put off trying to live healthy because this group who money is going to says, we've decided we don't want to have to pay for that. You shouldn't be in the business of making sure people can afford stuff. You're getting paid to help take care of their health. You're not supposed to be gatekeepers. But that's essentially what insurance is. It's a gatekeeper. And we need a single payer system. Because as it exists right now, many Americans die from the cost, whether they can't afford to go to the doctor. They can't afford their medicines. Oh, but as long as those companies, that insurance company's making its, fortune, it's okay. We need a single payer system so that people don't get left behind. Number 2, I feel there should be a way to make sure everyone's got a home. Everybody should have a home. No one should be left homeless. We shouldn't be, if we're the greatest country in the world, we shouldn't be having epidemics where millions of people are homeless. Yet, here we are in America. We have millions of homeless people. No shelter, no help. And what do businesses and towns do? They whine like the little bitches they are, saying they're scaring away our customers and our gentrification of these towns and cities that we wish for. Oh, please remove these pests. That's essentially the way they treat people. No. Again, we should guarantee at least some form of shelter, whether it be in built shelter blocks, like apartments, to try to help those who need a place. Because God knows, trying to live on what we have nowadays, it's not really feasible. I've heard the stories of working 3 jobs, but still having to live in your damn car. Because you can't afford a place. There should be some level of, you know, shelter guaranteed for to try to help people who are homeless. Number 3, tax the rich. I think everyone over $10 million, once you pass that $10 million point, you should be taxed 75% of your wealth. It's not 75% of all your wealth. It's saying the $10 million is on a up, this gradual scale upwards. Then anything over $10 million, 75%. You know how much we could get to help invest to make this country better, in a better future, in a nation. But no. Again, we get these whiny elitists and capitalists. I earn my money that I made those people slave for. You any idea how difficult it is to make people do what you want them to do? Mm. Mm. 75%. I mean, you're still getting 25% of it. After you hit the 10 million mark. What do you need with more than that? What do you need with more than that? Hmm? What do you need? I've got to have my 50 million so I can buy a golden gem encrusted butt scratcher. I mean, what are you going to do with all that money? What do you need it for? What do you need it for? But yeah, if we tax the rich, then all of a sudden we have ways that we can actually help people. Instead of, I'm not talking about paying these companies like Raytheon and Northrop Grumman and L3 Harris, all these companies money for more missiles and planes and stuff. No, I'm talking about literal things we can do to help people. Can make public colleges free. Provide, good public and free health care to individuals. God, it's easy. That would be wonderfully affordable if we just taxed the wealthy. But no, they keep getting tax break after tax break. I read an article. I read an article today that we now have surpassed how much the U.S. owes. It now surpasses how much our economy is worth for the first time in 75 years. So since the end of World War II. Or the beginning of World War II. Maybe the beginning of World War II. Yeah, I'd say it's probably the beginning. Because right before we just had the Great Depression. So, yeah, right around 1940, I would say. Because we know after World War II, the economy went, it expanded. But because we've cut taxes on the rich and the companies so many times, we bailed out these companies so many times already. America's struggling. The average American, not these wealthy jackasses. But the average American is struggling. When we tried to offer, what was it recently? The triple P, as loans to businesses. Some of the first businesses that tried to jump on it was these, upper tier businesses and mid tier businesses, not the small ones who need the paycheck protection. No, they didn't. They were getting ass fucked because these high level businesses, the rich, the already rich and wealthy, they're like, I'll take some of that. They're like giant hogs who force the younger pigs out of the way just so they can eat first. They do not give a damn about the small business, about the average American. That's another thing I would love to see. I would love to see small businesses. I am talking about small businesses. You know, not these that make millions upon millions upon millions. But that local business that's got 25 employees. Or maybe survives month to month simply because they're not ridiculously wealthy. These are the people we need to protect, the businesses we need to protect, the small local businesses. If you go shopping, don't go to a Walmart. Just go no Walmart. Go to the smaller grocery store. We have one grocery in the town I live in, one small grocery store. It's an IGA, International Grocers Association. But it's the only store in town, and we try to pump business into it by going there and shopping. Prices are higher, selection is not as vast, but it's people we know who work there. It is a local business that supports, the people that work there and the town. And so Walmart, it may have more selection, it may be cheaper, but sometimes you just got to go, all right, I'll bite the bullet a bit. Go out and provide some business to the small businesses, the local businesses. Because that's what's happening in America is they are getting screwed over. They have less and less income. They don't have the levels of monetary protection that these big corporations have. Shop at your neighborhood stores. Your local chains. You know, if you've got a restaurant, a grocery store, a parts store, whatever it may be in your neighborhood that's not affiliated with this bigger company, if they are independent, shop there. Provide them business. Use them, for your shopping needs, if at all possible. If you can't find what you need there, that's fine. That's understandable. But go to the local business. These are the places that support actual people, the actual small towns. Don't go to the Walmarts. Walmart's one of the worst places you can go. The same if you shop online. Try to stay away from Amazon. Shop for electronics at Newegg. You know, um, I'm trying to think of some other online sites that you can shop for this or that, but there are other online shops. They don't carry everything at once, but look at other options. Tell these big businesses, no, we don't need you. We don't want you. You shouldn't have that kind of fortune. Shop at, the smaller businesses, the local businesses, whatever you can to stick it to these corporations. Let's see, what else? I've spoken about homes, healthcare, jobs, um, small businesses. What else? Can't really think of it right now. This is just kind of an off the cuff thing, but essentially, we need to make our country better. Just lining the pockets of millionaires and billionaires and corporations with more money isn't going to do it. We need better options. If I had the money, I would love to do things like plant small gardens between towns. And so that it can provide crops to the people in the towns. I would mainly try to ask that, just provide us some labor to help keep the gardens up. And you can take home food. Gardens, farms. I call them gardens because they're not these huge uh, areas, fields of food. Usually, to me, a garden, it doesn't matter what size it is, or it, it, it don't have to be flowers. A garden can be food. It's just that the garden isn't a huge thing. Whereas a farm, I think of factory farming fields and fields. So, but yeah, if I had money, I'd have community gardens planted in between some of these small towns to make sure there is food. It also would help a lot because the more plant life we could reinitiate, it would help take a lot of the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. Fill it with oxygen. I mean, it makes so much sense to do. One thing I'd also do with money is there's a building complex I would love to build in my hometown just because the town itself is dying. But I would love to build a building complex here, 3, 4 stories tall, pretty wide. But it would provide all kinds of different things. Like on the base floor, you would have a major kitchen where you know they're making food and have cooks in training practicing their arts there, new foods, new options, everything. But they would be able to provide food to a lot of people. But also on the bottom floor, you would also have um, an arcade because I just think we need something for the kids to come to. Although around here there's less and less kids. It's the town, like I said, is dying. It's getting older. All the youth is moving away. But I would love to see a place for them have something to do. Because honestly, around Pound, there's where I live, there's nothing. And then on the next floor, well, the rest of the floors, the next 2 or 3, would be local businesses. You open up a section for a business to sit in. The rooms would be soundproof, so if you wanted to do uh, work in video, music, whatever, you don't interfere with anyone else. No matter what their business is, and their business doesn't interfere with you. It makes sense. But anyway, that's just if I had money. Let's another thing I wanted to talk about. I think America needs to do. I've spoke about it once before. Legalize, in general, just legalize certain things. I think prostitution should be legalized. And people go, that's just to have sex. Alright, look. People are going to do this anyway. Even if you make it, where it's illegal, they're still going to do it. That's why we have prostitutes and pimps and all this going on now. If it's legalized, it can be done in safe places. The prostitutes can get checked out for their health and yours. It would lessen chances of violence from pimps, from Johns, because you could have it in safe, sanitary conditions. You wouldn't have to fear calling the cops anymore because they didn't want to pay you. Suddenly, you could be paid. I would also legalize certain drugs, not all. Marijuana, that's a given. That needs to be legalized. It is no worse than tobacco or alcohol. So yeah, marijuana just needs to be legalized. Period. And then the use of the poppy plant should be better exploited to be able to help people, because it has some negatives and some positives. If you don't know, poppy plants are what produces your drugs like opium, opiates that usually include painkillers. It also produces morphine and heroin. So if there's a way to better safely study poppy plants, we could make a much better use of its pain-killing properties. And lessen the negative side effects of it, or how to deal with the side effects of it. I mean, that just, makes sense. You continue to ban it, all you're doing is pushing its use underground. But if you do things that make it more sensible, things get fixed. We get back up on a more even ground. And then honestly, I think drugs, the rest of them, they shouldn't be treated as their usage shouldn't be treated as crimes, but more health issues. If there were places to where you could take the drugs, people could watch over you, and then if you do decide you want to kick the habit, they can offer you the help. Instead of, you're out on the street somewhere overdosing. That makes a hell of a lot more sense. And then we need a universal basic income. It's one of the best ideas, I think, that came out of the whole Yang candidacy. Again, I didn't like the idea of him wanting to replace other things with that UBI. That makes no sense. But if you have ways to help people who don't make buku billions and millions, if everybody's provided with that extra funding, they have a chance. If there was a guaranteed 20, let's say $2,000 a month, and you also got food stamps and the free healthcare, suddenly you're able to take care of things even if the jobs are nowhere to be found. And people go, well, that just disincentivizes them to work. Really? I think what disincentivizes a lot of people to work is when businesses decide, let's make that extra few $1,000,000 by releasing some workers. So we have that little extra million or two lining our pockets. So let's cut a few thousand jobs. And then after so long, you're just not able to find a new job. I think that disincentivizes people to work. Especially when the jobs that you find don't pay you enough to survive. As I mentioned before, we have people out there working 2, 3, 4 jobs and still barely able to make do. They're having to live in their damn cars. But I hear jackasses like Kudlow. That disincentivizes people to work. People like Kudlow need to shut the fuck up. Because they clearly don't know what the fuck they're talking about. if, people are provided with the help they need, so that when these companies and these bitch millionaires and billionaires and corporations decide, I don't want to hire someone, let's hire some people to make some money, then people have something they can hold on to. Because guess what? Medicaid, food stamps alone, it isn't going to cut it. But if you're guaranteed that money, $2,000 a month, wonderful. You're covered on a lot of stuff. And then you put it all together. All right, you're able to subsist somewhat. It's just as it sits right now in society, we've got people dying. Not because they're lazy, not because they're pathetic, simply because they're poor. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. We live in a second Gilded Age. The first being with people like Rockefeller, Carnegie, Pierpont, Morgan, Vanderbilt. We're living in the second Gilded Age. But instead of all those names I mentioned, it's now people like Bezos and Gates and Buffett's. But this video's gone on long enough. It's almost a 50-minute video, so I guess I'll end it here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. If someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. But I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, later.